Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Yashodanandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Tira Vanacari Jamuna Tira Vanacari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya सदस्यमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for coming for today. How are you doing?
I have some problem. There's no light in the area. I have to use my phone, my handset. I hope I can be able to do it.
Yeah, sorry. So I'll put the verse on the screen so we can start, please.
Okay. Narayana namaskritya narachaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraya nashtaprayesha badresu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishmadev in the Presence of Lord Sri Krishna. And today we are treating text 1, which goes as follows. Sutta Ovacha Iti Bita Prajadruhat Sarvadharma Viviksaya Tato Vinashanam Pragat Yatra Deva Vrato Patat. Sutta Ovacha Iti Bita Prajadruhat Sarvadharma Vivikshaya Tato Vinashanam Pragat Yatra Deva Vrato Patat. Sutta Uvacha Iti Bita Prajadruhat Sarvadharma Vivikshaya Tato Vinashanam Pragat Yatra Deva Vrato Patat. Word for word translation. Sutta Uvacha, Sri Sutta Goswami said, Iti, thus, Bitaha, being afraid of, Prajadruhat, because of killing the subjects, Sarva, all, Dharma, acts of religion, Vivikshaya, for understanding, Tataha, thereafter, Vinashanam, the place where the fight was held, Pragat, he went, Yatra, where, Devavrata, Bhishmadev, Apatat, lay down for passing away. Translation and purport. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishmadev was lying on the bed of arrows, about to pass away. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Sri Krishna, Bhishmadev will impart instructions to King Yudhishthira on the subject of occupational duties. Bhishmadev will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world, and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishma was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect, and affection for the great soul. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dandati Swapadantiktam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganandalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swaminiti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shri Tatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tetariti Namini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvese Sasuyavadi Pasachadi Satarini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gauratvize Namaha Nityanando Vatutendur Vasuda Pranavala Baha Janavir Jivita Patir Krishna Prema Prabhu Padma Sutta Srimam Puvajaha Pavom Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gaura Kele Varaha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharya Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktaitam Sham Advaita Ashraya Ashraye Panchatatvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shantikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Pankajanabaya Nama Pankajanmaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandir Gatimasar Vaswa Padam Bhujo Radha Mandana Mohano Divyat Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Radhadhara Simhastanastau Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Pristhyali Visivya Manosmarami Srimam Rasarasaram Vivam Sivata Tatastita Karusan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Bindavanishwari Krisha Banu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Shuta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishma was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Bukam karoti va kalam fangdum lagaye te grim yar kripata mahan bande Shri Guru Jinan Taranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Kanda Mandala Kram Vyapta Yina Chara Charam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So before we proceed to execute this important function of representing Srila Vyasadeva, we seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis so that we can say something beneficial for our spiritual progress and probably for the benefit of the audience, and especially my superiors. I can see Bhakti Chandrashna Maharaj on the platform. Probably maybe Bhakti Jaradamandara Maharaj, maybe Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaj, maybe Sulakavi Chandra Maharaj. So I seek their blessing so that we can say something for our own purification and probably for the benefit of the audience. So previous days saw us hearing from the 8th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which discusses the prayers of Queen Kunti. And towards the end of that chapter, then the lamentations of Yudhishthira Maharaj became very prominent. And we have been hearing the different presentations, different realizations about Yudhishthira Maharaj's lamentation. As we are all aware, the Battle of Kurukshetra was arranged by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna wanted to bring all the demons together in one place and annihilate them at once. So the Battle of Kurukshetra was arranged by Lord Krishna. And whatever happened has to be accepted as Krishna's mercy, as Krishna's arrangement. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, because at the end of the battle, he was installed or enthroned as the emperor of the world. So therefore, he is feeling that because of him, that the war was fought. And because of him, millions of people were killed. Actually, it is quoted that 640 million people were killed in that battle. So naturally, as a saintly king, a devotee of the Lord, he was feeling great concern that because of him, the battle was fought and so many people died. Human beings died, animals died, and so on. So much was destroyed. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was feeling great concern. And many people tried to talk to him. Domyamuni, the priest of the Pandavas, he advised him, but Yudhishthira Maharaj did not accept it. Even Srivas spoke to Yudhishthira Maharaj, advised him, but he did not take it. Even Lord Krishna himself spoke to Yudhishthira Maharaj, but still he could not be pacified. He was still feeling that it is his responsibility. He was still feeling that he is responsible for the massacre. He is responsible for the death of all these people. So he was lamenting. Therefore, Lord Krishna arranged for the Pandava brothers to go and visit the dying Bhishma Dev on his deathbed. Bhishma Dev had been lying on his deathbed for several months because he had received a boon from his father that he would die at his own will. So therefore, Bhishma Dev could decide when to leave his body. Of course, he was lying there as a great yogi, waiting for an auspicious moment to leave this world. So Lord Krishna arranged for the Pandavas to go to the battlefield, the place of massacre, to meet Bhishma Dev, to hear from him, so that Yudhishthira Maharaj would be pacified. So it is mentioned, the acharyas say that actually Yudhishthira Maharaj, not accepting Domya Muni's advice, not accepting Vyasadev's advice, and not even accepting Krishna's advice, was also Krishna's arrangement. Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishma Dev, and Krishna wanted him to speak to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So therefore, the Lord, as a super soul in the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj, was guiding him to behave the way he behaved, so that they ended up with Bhishma Dev. They ended up going to see Bhishma Dev. And of course, two things are to happen, or even three things are to happen. First of all, Yudhishthira Maharaj will, and his brothers, they will receive transcendental information. They will receive knowledge, instructions from Bhishma Dev, how to rule the kingdom. That's one. Two, Bhishma Dev will reveal his real position as a Mahajan by speaking such knowledge. And three, Bhishma Dev, as a great devotee of the Lord, wanted Krishna to be before him. He wanted to see Krishna. He wanted to absorb Krishna within his mind, within his heart, at the point of death. He didn't want to think of anything else except Krishna. So Krishna was also fulfilling that desire of Bhishma Dev. So Krishna wanted all these three things to happen at once. So therefore, as a super soul within the heart of Yudhishthira Maharaj, despite all the talks from Domya Muni, from Vyasadeva, and from Krishna himself, Yudhishthira Maharaj could not be convinced. So eventually, they had to go and see the dying Bhishma Dev, who was lying on a bed of arrows. So In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Yamaraj instructed his officers, his servants, the Yamadutas, Dwadasate Vijjanimo, Dharmam Bhagavata Bhataha. He said, my dear servants, the transcendental religious principles, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, or the surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is a very confidential knowledge, and which is very difficult for ordinary men to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated. So this is when Yamaraj listed the number of Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans, who know the science of religion, the principles of religion, which is called Guyam Vishudam Durbadam. Confidential knowledge of Krishna, confidential knowledge of religion is not known by ordinary people. It is only known by great souls, Mahajans, like Bhishma Dev. So Krishna wanted Bhishma Dev to be glorified because he's a Mahajan, he's a great devotee of Krishna. And Krishna wanted him glorified by giving this knowledge on occupational duties, on rulership, on Kshatriya Dham to Yudhishthira Maharaj and his brothers, because they need to rule the kingdom according to religious principles, according to Kshatriya Dham, according to the occupational duties. And Bhishma Dev, as a Mahajan, was the right person to impart that knowledge to Yudhishthira Maharaj and his brothers. Therefore, Krishna arranged that Yudhishthira Maharaj was not appeased with all the deliberations given by Daumya Muni, given by Vyasadeva, and ultimately given by Lord Krishna himself. So, of course, Krishna also wanted Bhishma Dev to see that the Pandavas that he has taken care of, he has nurtured, he has nourished, he has groomed, he has supervised when they were children up to the time they have become adults. Krishna also wanted Bhishma Dev to see that now they are the rulers of the earth, they are the kings of the earth, so that he would be happy to see the Pandavas rule the world, because actually that was his desire. But because he was a paid servant of Duryodhana, he could not object the war, he could not join the Pandavas. He had to follow Duryodhana. So Krishna wanted Bhishma Dev to also see the Pandavas becoming the rulers of the earth before he passed away. So Bhishma Dev is a great devotee of Krishna, and so he also desired to offer his last prayers to Lord Krishna at the time of his death. He willed that at the moment of leaving the world, he should be able to have his mind focused on Krishna. And in this way, he would achieve the ultimate goal. As Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam antyajate kalevaram. then whatever one remembers at the time of death, that he shall attain without fail. So therefore, Bhishma Dev's desire was to fix his meditation on the form of the Lord, and in this way, leave the world. And Krishna understood that his great devotee, Bhishma Dev, wanted him to be at his bedside so that he can focus his attention on him at the moment of departing from this world. So in the Jaiva Dham, Bhishma Dev is mentioned as a Parishada Bhakta. In the Jaiva Dham, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes 4 types of servants. The Adikrita Dasa. Adikrita Dasa means qualified servants. These are the demigods, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, Surya Dev, and all of them. They are described as qualified servants. Adikrita Dasa. They are qualified servants. And therefore, the Lord empowers them to execute a specific function in the universal administration. Then, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions Ashrita Dasas. Ashrita Dasa means sheltered servants. That means servants that have taken full shelter on the lotus feet of the Lord. Then we have the third category is the Parishada Dasas. Parishada Dasas. Parishada Dasas are the constant, trustworthy companions of the Lord. And Bhishma Dev belongs to this category. Then we have the Anugata Dasas. The Anugata Dasas are the obedient followers who are always submissive and affectionate towards Krishna. These are the Vrajavasis and the Dwarkavasis. So it is said that Bhishma Dev, being a Parishada Bhakta, being a Parishada Dasa, was very dear to Krishna, because he is one of the principal Parishada Dasas. Actually, it's said that the principal Parishada Dasas in Dwaraka are Uddhava, Daruka, Satyaki, Shrutadeva. Amongst the Parishada Darvas of the Kuru dynasty, we have Bhishma Dev, we have Parikshit Maharaj, and Vidura. So Bhishma Dev is a very trustworthy servant of Krishna. And on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he actually revealed his intimacy with Krishna. Bhishma Dev had promised Duryodhana that the next day he was going to finish the Pandavas. Duryodhana had observed that Bhishma Dev was not fighting to his utmost. He was not putting out his best, because the Pandavas were very dear to Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev has a very soft heart for the Pandavas. Bhishma Dev loves the Pandavas, and therefore he was reluctant to actually kill them. And Duryodhana observed that. So he accused Bhishma Dev of showing compassion, of showing favoritism towards the Pandavas. So when Duryodhana accused Bhishma Dev like this, Bhishma Dev took a vow that the next day all the Pandavas will be finished. he selected some specific arrows, 5 arrows that he would use to kill all the 5 Pandavas. And Duryodhana requested for those arrows. He said, give me those arrows. I will protect them. I will keep them under my pillow. And tomorrow morning, I will deliver them to you so that you can execute your promise. So Bhishma Dev gave him the arrows. And Duryodhana safely put them under his pillow so that the next morning, he will deliver them to Bhishma Dev. But Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Sarvagya, he knows everything, past, present, and future. He knows everything. He is in the heart of every living entity. He knows everything. Sarvasya Chaham Hridesanivisto. Krishna is seated in the heart of everyone. And from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So Krishna understood the plan Duryodhana and Bhishma Dev were making. So immediately he went to wake Arjuna up. Arjuna was sleeping. Krishna woke him up and said, my dear Arjuna, you better go to Duryodhana right now and demand for the boon. When Chitraharata, the king of the demigods, one of the kings of the demigods, defeated him and arrested him, you went and saved him. And he wanted to give you a boon. And you said, okay, hold it. Anytime I need it, I will come. So go right now and collect the boon. And what is the boon? The 5 arrows that Bhishma Dev is going to use to kill the 5 of you tomorrow. They are with Duryodhana. Go and collect them. So immediately Arjuna went to the camp of Duryodhana. And when Duryodhana saw him, he was so excited. He thought Arjuna had come to end the war by surrendering to them. But Arjuna said, no, I've come for my boon. I saved you from the hands of Chitraharata, and you said you give me a boon, so I've come for the boon. Duryodhana said, all right, ask for the boon. Any boon you want us to stop the battle, you want us to stop the fight, you want us to hand over the kingdom to you without fighting. We are ready for all this. And Arjuna said, no, I don't want any of these things. All that I want is the 5 arrows that is beneath your pillow. So Duryodhana was devastated, but he had to give the arrows to Arjuna. So Bhishma Dev's plan was completely usurped. And so the next day, Bhishma Dev understood that Krishna was protecting his devotees. And Krishna had declared that in that war of Kurukshetra, he was not going to fight. He was not going to raise a weapon. He would just be neutral. The only thing he would do is to drive Arjuna's chariot, period. So Bhishma Dev said, oh, Krishna, you have foiled my attempt to kill the Pandavas. You are the only one who knows the secret of everything. You have revealed that there are 5 arrows under the pillow of Duryodhana, which I'm going to use to kill all of you. And you have directed Arjuna to go for those arrows. Tomorrow, I will still prove to you that without those arrows, your Arjuna will be in trouble. So, as we all know, the next day, Bhishma Dev fought so violently, so much so that Arjuna was in trouble. His chariots were destroyed, his horses killed, and Bhishma Dev was just about to kill Arjuna. And so Krishna had to jump down from the broken chariot, picked up a broken wheel, and ran towards Bhishma Dev. And when Bhishma Dev saw that Krishna had broken his vow, Krishna said he would not participate in the war. Krishna said he would not carry a weapon. But now Krishna was carrying a weapon. Krishna was carrying the wheel of the chariot and running after him. Bhishma Dev was happy that he has subdued Krishna and he has made Krishna to break his vow. So this is the relationship that exists between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Prema Haite Krishna Haya, Nija Bhakta Vasaha, Prema Haite Paya Krishnera, Seva Shukara Saha. That the Supreme Lord, who is greater than the greatest, becomes submissive to even a very insignificant jiva who becomes his devotee due to devotional service. It is the beautiful and exalted nature of devotional service that the infinite Lord becomes submissive to the infinitesimal living entity because of devotional service. In reciprocal devotional service, the Lord and the devotee, they enjoy transcendental mellows of devotional service. Then the Lord reciprocates with the devotee, and so the Lord becomes subservient. So Krishna had to become subservient to his devotee Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev wanted Krishna to break his vow, and Krishna agreed to break his vow because Krishna wanted to protect his devotee Arjuna. So in attempt to protect his devotee Arjuna, he has to break his vow. And therefore Krishna is called Bhakta Vasala. For the love of his devotees, Krishna is ready to do anything. For the love of his devotees, Krishna is ready to go against any principles of truthfulness, principle, promise, whatever. Krishna is ready to throw that away in order to protect his devotee. Therefore, Krishna is called Bhakta Priya, Sri Krishna Bhakta Priya Chakra Pani. Krishna is a kind friend to his devotees, and he holds a disc in his hand just to protect his devotee. So here Krishna lifts up the wheel, the broken wheel, because he went to the battlefield without any of his weapons. He didn't carry the Sudarshan Chakra, he didn't carry anything. But now it became necessary to protect Arjuna. So he picked up the broken wheel. So Krishna is always carrying the wheel just for the protection of his devotees. Krishna is so kind, a friend of his devotees, that he carries the wheel just because he wants to protect his devotees. Krishna is also called Sharanagata Palaka. He's the protector of his devotees. And whatever it costs Krishna to protect his devotees, he is ready to do that. Anyone who has taken shelter of Krishna, Krishna is prepared to go the extra mile to make sure that his devotee is protected. He is also called Bhakta Suhritamaha. Bhakta Suhritama. He's the best friend, he's the topmost friend of the devotees. And therefore, Krishna is prepared to do anything to please his topmost devotees. So this is how Krishna is controlled by the love of his devotees. So devotional service is just an amazing activity, amazing activity. And therefore, Krishna recommends that every living entity should engage in devotional service, because by this devotional service, one can actually purchase Krishna. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned, Prema Vasu Gora Prabhu, Yahan Premo Tamaha, Prema Vasa Hantataha, Dehan Darshanaha. The Lord Gaurasundara is greatly influenced by the love of his devotees. Therefore, wherever there is pure devotion to the Lord is easily subdued by such and becomes manifest before the devotee. We remember the story of Vasudeva. When Lord Chaitanya was visiting South India, he was with the one devotee, and Vasudeva wanted to meet Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya left very early in the morning. Vasudeva had heard about Lord Chaitanya's kirtan and preaching in South India, and so he wanted to go, I think it's Kurukshetra. He wanted to go and meet Lord Chaitanya, so he went to Kurma house, and then Lord Chaitanya had already left early in the morning. But Vasudeva was he was lamenting. He was very sorrowful that he had come to meet the Lord, but he had missed him. And so as he was lamenting because of his great devotion for Lord Chaitanya, all of a sudden Lord Chaitanya returned, just because Lord Chaitanya wanted to give darshan to Vasudeva, the leper. He returned to the very spot where Vasudeva was lamenting. And when Lord Chaitanya came, he embraced this devotee, this leper, and immediately all his leprosy was gone. He was turned into a very beautiful personality. And Vasudeva was so grateful that the Lord understood his mind, the Lord understood his heart, and returned just to come and deliver him from that disease and make him into a beautiful man. So Krishna is Bhakta Vasala. He is very affectionate towards devotees, and he is easily conquered by his pure devotees. And so devotional service is a very great gift that by engaging in pure devotional service, one can actually conquer the Lord. And what is this conquering of the Lord? One can enter into a very, very intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by entering into this relationship, one can actually enjoy transcendental bliss. It is said that Bhishma Dev wanted to see Sri Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. All what he wanted is simply to focus his attention on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wanted that at the time of his death, he would see Krishna. He would absorb his mind on Krishna. And Krishna understood the mind of Bhishma Dev. So therefore, at the appropriate time that Bhishma Dev was going to leave the planet, Lord Krishna stood before him, and Bhishma Dev withdrew his mind from the well, focused his senses on the Lord, and offered his prayers to Lord Krishna, and he went silent. So that is the power of devotional service, that if we perform such wonderful service to Krishna, and we purchase the Lord by pure devotional service, and we please Krishna by devotional service, Krishna becomes subservient. Krishna will manifest at the time of leaving this world. He will manifest before us and take us back home, back to Godhead. That is the benefit of engaging in Krishna consciousness. That at the end of this life, Krishna will be kind enough to bless us that we can go back home, back to the spiritual world. So Bhishma Dev, due to his great devotion for Krishna, Krishna had arranged that Yudhishthira Maharaj was lamenting so much, and he has to be brought to the bedside, the deathbed of Bhishma Dev, and then Bhishma Dev would give them instruction, and Krishna will right be there, and Bhishma Dev will leave his body, meditating on the form of Krishna. The relationship between Bhishma Dev and Krishna is that of chivalry. Is one of the secondary rasas. We have the Mukhya Bhakti rasas. the primary races, which is Santa, Dacia, Sakya, Vasalia, and Madhurya. Those are described as Mukhya Bhakti races, the primary races. Besides that, we also have the Gona Bhakti races. Gona means secondary, indirect races. So Bhishma Dev his master is that of chivalry. The devotees relate to the Lord in as a warrior. He relates to the Lord in chivalry, and so he wanted to see the Paratasatra form of the Lord, and therefore Krishna appeared before Bhishma Dev in his Paratasatra form, and Bhishma Dev meditated on that form and left the planet Earth and went back home, back to Godhead. So the result of performing devotional service is that Krishna becomes favorable towards the devotee, and at the time of death, Krishna becomes manifest before the eyes of the devotee. Dena darshanam. Prema vasu dena darshanam. By the power of devotional service, Krishna becomes manifest before the devotee. By the power of devotional service, Krishna becomes available for the devotee. And that is why Krishna advised the gopis in the Srimad Bhagavatam that my devotional service, Amrita Traya Kalpate, that every living entity must engage in devotional service. By engaging in devotional service, everyone can return to the spiritual world. So devotional service is the means by which we can leave this material world, is the means by which we can attain Krishna, is the means by which one can go back home, back to the spiritual world. So Bhishma Dev has achieved that because of his great devotional service to Krishna. And so he set an example for all of us to follow. So I think I have 10 more minutes left. So if there are any comments or questions, they are welcome.
Thank you, Adishamara. Thank you for a nice class. I have one question.
Yeah.
It is said that before one took birth in the material world, the number of how long one would live is already decided before being born. So how come the father of Bhishma gave him such a boon that changed his predestined duration of life to die whenever he wants to die? And what did he do for the father to give him such benediction?
Yes. See, even though everyone taking birth, the very moment you are born, you are given a number of breaths that you are going to breathe in this world. And when you breathe your last, you have to go. That is true. But still, there are also ways and means one can extend his life. The yoga siddhis, you know, we have the eight perfections. Actually, there are 8 principal perfections, and there are also 10 minor perfections. So together, there are 18 perfections. They're all described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one of the primary 8 perfections is that one can decide when to die and where to die. If one achieves that perfection, he overcomes the laws of nature. He can choose when and where to die. So that is possible. So Bhishma Dev, his father gave him that boon that he would die at his own will. That means the father must be a very exalted personality that he can give such a boon. You cannot give what you don't have. So the father must be such an exalted king, pious king, Raja Rishi, that he was able to give such a boon. Santanu gave such a boon to Bhishma Dev. And so Bhishma Dev was able to stay as long as he wanted. Now, your second question was, what did he do? The story is that, Santanu, his first marriage was with Ganga Devi. Bhishma Dev is one of the Astavasus, the 8 Vasus, who had stolen Vashista Muni's Kamadenu cow, his Surabi cow. And Bhishma Dev was the actual person who took the cow. The other brothers, the 7 others, they helped him, they accompanied him. So Vashista Muni cursed them that they would take birth on the 8th planet. And so the other ones, so when they got to know that they were cursed, they begged Vashista Muni. And Vashista Muni said, all right, for the 7 of you, as soon as you are born, you'll be sent back to the heavenly planet. But for Bhishma Dev, because he took the cow, he has to stay a long life on the 8th planet. He has to stay longer on the 8th planet. So as the story goes, Ganga Devi was married to Santanu, very beautiful woman, but she had given certain orders. He agreed to marry Santanu based on certain agreements, that all the children he's going to born, he would throw them into the river, and Santanu had nothing to say. As soon as Santanu would oppose him that day, the marriage is finished. And Ganga Devi was so beautiful that Santanu was very attached to her. And so because of that, he could not oppose Ganga Devi's activities. The first child was born, thrown into the Ganges, second one born, thrown into the Ganges, third one born, thrown into the Ganges, till the 7th one thrown into the Ganges. And the last one was Devavrata, that is Bhishma Dev. His actual name was Devavrata. So when he was born and the mother wanted to go and throw him into the river, at this time, Santanu spoke up. He said, my dear wife, you can't do this. You have killed 7 of my children. This one, please let me have this one. Let me have a child. Don't take this one away. So Ganga Devi said, all right, you have broken the rules of the game, so the game is finished. I am gone. You won't see me again. I'm taking my boy along with me. I'm going to train him up. And when he's of age, I will bring him back to you. So Bhishma Dev went with his mother. He was trained up in the heavenly planet. He became very expert in military science. And then one day, Santanu was roaming around the river Ganga, and he saw that somebody had shot arrows to block the flow of the river. He was surprised to see this. He had never seen that before. And so he was looking for the person, and that was a young lad, Devavrata. And then he realized that it was his son. Ganga Devi appeared and said, this is your son. I brought him for you. Take it home. So again, Santanu had no wife. He was again a bachelor. And then one day he was, hunting, and he perceived some very powerful scent, beautiful fragrance coming from a direction. So Santanu followed the fragrance, and he ended up in a fisherman's village, cottage. And this scent was coming from the fisherman's daughter. Actually, it is said that that girl, Satyavati, was actually rescued from the stomach of a fish, because the fisherman was catching fishes. He caught one big fish, and when he cut it open, he saw a beautiful daughter. So he kept her and brought her up. But the girl was smelling fish all the time. She had a bad odor of a fish. But she was so beautiful that the father of Vyasadeva, Parasaramuni was crossing the river, and this girl was the boat girl. The father was not there, and the girl was using the boat to ferry people across. So Parasaramuni became attracted to this girl and had an affair with her. And as a result, Vyasadeva was born, and she again regained her virginity. And on top of that, she was blessed by Parasaramuni to have a special fragrance so that the fish smell would go away from her. And now she had this special fragrance, and this fragrance spread miles upon miles. So Santanu had this fragrance, and he followed this fragrance to the cottage of the fisherman. And then he said he wanted to marry the girl. And the fisherman said, well, I will give my daughter on one condition, that the children of my daughter will become the kings. But already, Santana was thinking that this Devavrata, Bhishma Dev, he's so qualified. He has been the king. He has to take over from me. But now he was attracted to this fisherman's daughter, and the condition was that he must make his children the kings. So he was very sad. He could not agree to that because he didn't want to betray Bhishma Dev. So he went back home feeling very sad. And for days, he would not eat, he would not sleep, he was feeling morose, he was lonely. So when Bhishma Dev noticed that his father was in such a mood, he asked his charioteer, "Where did you take my father to? And what is the cause of all this misery? Tell me." So the charioteer took him to the fisherman's village, and the Bhishma Dev went there to find out that it was the daughter of the fisherman his father wanted to marry, and there were so many conditions. So he said he was ready to fulfill all the conditions. And the fisherman said, "Well, your father may agree." Okay, first he said, "I will not marry." He said, "No." He said, "First, I forgo the throne for my father's pleasure, for my father's to marry your daughter. I am prepared to forgo the throne so that your grandchildren, your daughter's children will become the kings. I don't want the throne." And they said, "Well, but what about your children? You may say you don't want the throne, but your children may fight with my grandchildren for the throne. So how do we solve that?" So immediately Devavrata said, "All right, because of this, I am taking the lifelong vow of celibacy. I'm going to be a nice Tiki brahmachari, and therefore I won't marry and I won't have any children, so that the throne is for your grandchildren." And so that was when the demigod showered flowers on Bhishma Dev, on Devavrata, and they gave him the name Bhishma, the terrible vow. Bhishma actually means the terrible vow, such a vow for a king to become celibate for the rest of his life, no wife, no children. It was a terrible vow. But flowers showered from above. Demigod showered flowers on Bhishma Dev. And he took the girl and went and presented the girl to his father, Shantanu. And it was then Shantanu gave him that boon, that for having sacrificed your pleasure, your sex pleasure, family pleasure, just for me, I give you that potency, I give you that power that you will not die if you don't want to die. You will choose to die when you want to die. So this is the blessing of superiors. If we are able to please our superiors, especially the spiritual master and Krishna, then we can get such a wonderful boon. Bhishma Dev was able to please his father. His father is more or less like his guru. He was able to please him, and therefore his father blessed him with such a long life. So if we are able to please our spiritual master, we're able to please Krishna, what a great boon that awaits us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is from Sahadev Prabhu.
Oh, Sahadev Prabhu. I hope you won't ask me a difficult question.
Hare Krishna. I don't think any question is so difficult for you, Prabhuji. No. Well, like Krishna Prabhu said, that was a very, very wonderful, beautiful class you just gave.
Oh, thank you.
And as such, that also means that it also brings out lots of questions.
Yeah.
And my first question is, if you would kindly help us differentiate the difference between being sincere or showing integrity as opposed to being stupid or foolish. The reason is, why would Duryodhana, who perfectly knew that these 5 arrows that have been given to him by Bhishma is what is going to help him win the war? And Srila Prabhupada gave lecture on this same text, 191, where Srila Prabhupada was saying that you cannot go to war with a friend, you only go to war with an enemy. So while they were fighting, they were enemies. So why would Duryodhana give his 5 arrows that were specially given to him by Bhishma Dev to finish his enemies and give those same arrows to his enemy, Arjun, because Arjun asked for them? And he wanted to show sense of integrity or whatever, and he gave, even though he was lamenting, oh, I don't want to give, but he gave anyway. So how do we explain this to a modern man? You know, it doesn't make sense to a modern mundane man like me. Please help us.
Yes, thank you, thank you for the question. Actually, you see, the Kshatriyas, for them, they believe in honor. Honor is part of their dharma. And to be dishonored, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, is worse than death. So because Arjuna had saved him from the hands of Chitraratha, and out of that gratitude, he told Arjuna that he wanted to give him a benediction, a boon. But Arjuna said, there's no need. When I need it anytime, I will come. So he had committed himself. And as a Kshatriya, his word is his honor. His word, he has to stand by. So, so when Arjuna approached him, that give me those 5 arrows, because he had promised Arjuna that whatever boon he wanted, he will give him. So now when he approaches him and say, give me the 5 arrows, that is the boon he wanted. As a Kshatriya, he could not say no, because his word of honor mattered very much to him. So for a modern person, he might say, giving out these arrows means that you are actually defeating yourself. You are actually putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. And why should you do that? But in the Kshatriya, when we talk of the 5,000 years back, Vedic times, a Kshatriya's word was very, very valuable. A Kshatriya's promise was observed as such. Therefore, he valued executing his words rather than even protecting himself. So therefore, he had to give out the arrows because he had promised Arjuna that anytime he wanted any boon, he would give. So this moment, he was tested. He knew that those arrows would finish his enemies, but he has also promised that whatever he wanted, he will give him. So it was an honor of his word, which he felt is more important than his death. So he gave out the arrows.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Well, if I may ask a second question, Kusha Prabhu?
Yes, please, please do.
Okay. My second question has to do with Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan. He is one of the 12 exemplaries that we all look up to.
Yes.
So why would Bhishma Dev, who knew perfectly that Duryodhana was on the wrong side of history, yet he fought in his favor against the Pandavas, whom he himself trained. And this same Pandavas, I think this chapter is going to be very interesting and controversial at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting and controversial.
Yes, because Bhishma Dev will be the last and the least person to ever support Duryodhana. But here, he's supporting Duryodhana and even giving these 5 arrows to Duryodhana to finish the Pandavas. So my question is, why would such a Mahajan be on the wrong side of history?
Well, Sir Prabhupada explains that, see, Duryodhan had, what do we say? Duryodhan, my light has come, I'm switching to the computer, I'm using the phone. So a minute, using the phone. So, Duryodhan desired to go to war because of three people: Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, and Karna. Because of these three people, Duryodhan was eager to go to war. Without Karna, without Bhishmadev, and without Dronacharya, Duryodhan wouldn't have gone to war. But these three people, they were superior to Arjuna. And therefore, they gave him the confidence, we can call it false confidence, that with these three Maharathas, the battle he will win. So these three personalities gave him that confidence that he was going to win the war. So in one sense, Krishna was behind Bhishmadev taking the sides of Duryodhana, because Krishna wanted the war. Krishna wanted the war to be fought. Krishna wanted to eliminate all the demonic kings. And so he had brought all of them together to finish them in one place. And for the war to take place, Karna, Bhishmadev, and Dronacharya had to be on the side of Duryodhana. Even Karna, Kunti went to him in the middle of the night, the day before they start the war, to reveal to Karna that, look, the Pandavas are your brothers. You are the senior brother. What is the use? There's no need fighting them. If you join now, you'll be the king. They will make him the king. So there's no need to fight against the Pandavas. But Karna says, no way. I've already given my word to Duryodhana. And so I will have to go to war. If I die, you still have 5 children, 5 sons. And if they die, at least you still have 1 son. So don't worry. I've already given my word to Duryodhana and I must fight on his behalf. So some acharyas explain that actually it was Krishna's design that Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, and Karna supported Duryodhana to make the war happen. Because without these 3 people, Duryodhana wouldn't have gone very far. So even though Bhishmadev knew that he was on the wrong side, but it was Krishna's plan for him to remain there so that the war would take place and the demonic kings would all be annihilated. So we can say it was also part of Krishna's plan to finish all the kings by making sure that the war took place, and therefore Bhishmadev, Karna, and Dronacharya had to be on the side of Duryodhana to give him that confidence that he has the best Maharata, the best military men, and that he was going to win the war. So that was his faith, and that brought about the war. So we can say Krishna at the background was pulling the cards, make sure that the war took place and that the Pandavas will emerge victorious and Duryodhana lose the battle.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your answer. But it's difficult because this verse will cause so much problem till the end. Still on the longevity of the living entity before taking birth.
Okay.
Shantanu is not God, neither is he
Yeah.
a demigod.
No.
So how was he able to revert the longevity of his son?
Well, I think there is a story that Santanu, his father was a great personality. I was reading the story of Santanu yesterday, I was there for yesterday, and they said his father was a great personality, and so it was like, if my memory can serve me right, it's like he was made to take birth in the world, to marry. Actually, it's mentioned that Ganga Devi and Santanu, they descended from the earth, from the heavenly planet, to perform that pastime of marriage. So, but there was, I can't remember exactly the cause, but there is mentioned that Santanu had done something somewhere, and he had to descend on the planet Earth to meet Ganga, and they will get married, and then as a result, Bhishma Dev would be born. So his father is an exalted personality, and he himself in his previous life, he was also an exalted personality. So therefore, it is possible that he could give such a boon to his son, Bhishma Dev. I will recite the story. I read it, but I didn't take the details. I read over it. I was searching for something and I came across it. So I just brushed through it. I will get the details. I will send you the details, how he came to earth. And therefore, he has that ability to give the benediction that Bhishma Dev could extend his life. He had the ability.
Thank you, Maharaj. Sadev Prabhu has his hand up again. Sadev.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, I have another question, but I would like to follow up with Kusha Prabhu's question.
Yeah.
And that is, well, it's just my opinion. That's why I'm asking. But I'm thinking that material nature is something that can be manipulated.
Yes.
If one knows how to manipulate material nature, one can do that, because otherwise, why do we have the 8 cities where one can contradict nature?
Yeah.
And even back home in Africa, in our own local people, I once traveled to one place in the north, the Dagomba region, and there the chief, when the chief falls sick, they have very few select people who visit him. Because if you are not one of such few select people and you visit him, he can exchange his death with your life.
It's true.
Yes. And so, and Lobsang Rampa, Tuesday Lobsang Rampa also used to do that. Yeah. So my question is, if material nature can be manipulated, then what is the guarantee that whatever we are going through in today's life is all solely based on our past karmic reactions? Because somebody in this lifetime can willingly do something to affect us to act in a certain way, probably against our wish. But that person, if he knows how to manipulate us, that person can do that. So how do we know that whatever we're experiencing in life today is all based on our karma?
Yeah. The answer is that you see, everything is still based on karma. It is not everyone they can manipulate. It is not everyone. Unless you have some karmic bond with that person, he cannot necessarily manipulate you. So, and we have seen that even though these things are there, but it's not everyone they can deal with. Even witchcraft is there, we know it is there, but it's not everyone the witch can deal with, unless you have some karmic bond, unless there is something behind, some relationship that using that they can reach you. But if you have no bond with them, no matter what, they cannot deal with your situation. So material energy can be manipulated, that is true. And that is why these 8 mystic powers are there and the 10 minor powers are there. But still, the karmic bond determines, our karmic pattern determines what we have to experience and what we are not going to experience. So within that karmic records, karmic results, reactions, then if we are linked to somebody, we are related to somebody, we have some previous dealing with somebody, then based on that, he can reach us. But if there is no such relationship, he may try, but he will not able to deal with your situation. So it's still based on some karma.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the answer. Hare Krishna. In the end, it will be a chapter of arguments, because this time around, people have to ask so many questions for clarity.
Yeah.
I think the story of Shantanu and the Ganga was when they were in the heavenly planet, and Shantanu looked at Ganga lustfully.
That's
and
right.
Ganga also looked at him lustfully. So the
That's
demigod
right.
caused them to take birth and enjoy that sex life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't remember the story well, but there is something like that. They were in a heavenly planet, and they look at each other lustfully, and they were sent down to the earth planet. So they're devas in their previous lives, and they have that energy. So, and Bhishma Deva, also being the son of Ganga Devi and Yasantanu, is also a very special personality. So it's possible. It's possible. I comment.
On the issue of changing destiny or predestination, whatever one is supposed to live.
Actually, BDD Maharaj is here. His Holiness is here. Maybe he can also contribute.
Yes, Maharaj, please.
This karma, changing people's
because I can remember I was supposed to be very, very rich. Maybe somebody changed my destiny to be poor man. I don't know this.
Okay, Maharaj is here. He can help us.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Nice discussion. Isade Prabhu was saying that we can manipulate material energy, but it's not true. It's not possible to manipulate material energy. Actually, material energy is manipulating all of us. For example, I'm a thing like that, okay, I have exchanged my sickness with you. I'm deceived to think like that because in my next life, I'm going to be deceived to also change my karma with somebody. So you want to change the karma with me as well. So there's no way we can manipulate material nature because material nature is not under us. We are under the material nature. So in all circumstances, material nature is manipulating every one of us to think that we can maneuver things. It's not possible. Not possible. We are being manipulated by material energy. So it is actually ignorance for us to think like that. This is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Maharaj, if I may ask a follow-up question, because we know that the nature of fire is to produce heat and burn. When it touch fire, it burns.
Yes.
But some people have the power to touch fire without getting burned. So
Yeah.
wouldn't that, in that situation, contradicting nature? And personally, I have I have been to a shrine where, like in the US here, like 4th July is always hot. But in the hot season, the sun is right in the sky. But these people can invoke the thunder god, the lightning god, and the lightning will come and strike that particular individual. And we only have like lightning when the sky is cloudy and things like that. Or when water touches you, you get wet. There are some people who can walk in the water and not get wet. So wouldn't these things be contradictory to what the nature of fire and water is? Fire is to burn, but here is someone dipping his hand into a frying oil and it's not getting burned.
Yes. Srivas Vanacari, he just mentioned that everything is based on karma. Whose karma is not influenced by that energy will not be affected. Just like if you point a torch to the sun, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any no influence. It doesn't work. So, the example you have given, if someone puts a hand inside the fire, it will not be burnt. But how many people can do that? It's not everybody who does that. That means that this person have undergone a certain situation to make him to have that power. Maybe he has worshipped the sun god, the fire god, to be able to do that. So he has been given a special mercy to do that. He has been given, or she has been given, not in normal circumstances. In a normal circumstance, if you touch fire, you'll be burnt. If you enter the water, we want, except you have undergone a certain discipline. Why we should undergo that certain discipline to be able to have that ability? We have made some sacrifice to get that opportunity. Without that sacrifice, we cannot get it. So it is not we who are manipulating material energy. Material energy is manipulating us.
Thank you, Maharaj. Me, I have a question. I want to bring this question down to we, the people. Like American government will say, we, the people. The life of Bhishma Dev, he gave up his married life and family life to please his father. So how is it that the lesson to be learned for me personally, I'm asking myself, how is it that we among ourselves, we don't give up some positions or some fighting or some trying to be known to make the other person happy, like Bhishma did to make his father happy?
Yes. In my spiritual connection book, this is one of the things discussed in the book. What is the lesson? Bhishma Dev has shown the nature of a first-class disciple. He made a sacrifice to please his father. So a devotee who makes sacrifice to please his spiritual master stands to have the extra mercy. And as you say, we. So why we are not making advancement as much as other devotees around the world? Because we're not making the amount of sacrifice that other people are making. Our sincerity is not enough. Our input is not enough. Our situation is below the standard. That means what? We are influenced by the mood of it. Therefore, we don't have that opportunity. We don't have that qualification. We don't have that mercy to be able to make a sacrifice to please the spiritual master that will have that blessing that will transcend everything. One who has pleased the spiritual master, proper said, it does not even need to follow the principles. One who has pleased the spiritual master with his or her life does not even need to follow the principle of, or the principle becomes very easy for that devotee to follow. So why are we struggling with principles? Because we have not used that. But all of us knows about it. So why are we not doing it? The mode of nature is ignorance is dominant in our consciousness. Therefore, we cannot see the need to go beyond what we are experiencing. So we are just in the cycle. The moon is controlling all of us. But Bismadev did. His father did not tell him to do that. In fact, the father did not even tell him what happened in the forest. It was the charioteer who told him that when your father went to the forest, he had met a girl he's interested in, but the condition he couldn't meet with. So he is despondent. This will please take me there. He took him there. And if someone say, yes, yeah, your father is qualified to be my son-in-law, but the condition he couldn't meet, that's a problem. This man say, what is it? Give your daughter to my father. I say, yes, I will do that, but my grandson should be head. And you're already there. So there's no way your father can marry because you're already there. And you will naturally have that power. And this man there is okay. No, I will not take the position. He said, no, that is not enough. You will not take, but your child will take. This man, okay, now, no matter. We follow that. But how many of us can make this sacrifice for our spiritual master? That is the point. That is the issue.
That is the question.
Yes.
No, it's what you know.
It's very serious. It's very serious.
But Bhishmadev was in Satya Yuga. This is Kali Yuga.
It's not about the age. Even if the age, it has to do with the mood. The mood, Satya Yuga is goodness.
Yes.
Kali Yuga is ignorance. And every day the Kali is increasing and goodness is going down. But Kali is increasing. But why are we in Kali Yuga? Why are we not in Satya Yuga? You know somebody's doing. It is our own doing. It's our making. So we are responsible.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Actually,
we're making progress, small.
Dr. Chika Maharaj told me once that when we make a serious sacrifice for the pleasure of Guru, we attract certain mercy, we attract certain empowerment. Once Maharaj told me like that. That we sacrifice our pleasure for Krishna, for Guru, there is a corresponding empowerment, corresponding mercy. So we try to sacrifice something for pleasure of Guru and Krishna, and the mercy, empowerment will come.
Maharaj, there is this question of Shantanu blessing Bhishmadev because Shantanu was qualified also. And he had that power. In the material world, every father blesses his son to be better than him. Every mother blesses her son also and daughters. But most of those blessings from our fathers, parents, is not working. When we look at everybody in the world, no father has a son who doesn't bless the son to be more than him. It is not working. Are they not the same father that gave birth like Santanu to Bhishmadev?
The blessing
Because Maharaj gave Prabhu Srivas Maharaj mentioned that is the result of respecting or obeying elders, parents, superiors. But a child also obey his superior, his parents, and they also bless him. And yet so many people are on the street roaming around upon their father's blessings.
Yes. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Vidura gave a lot of blessing to Dhritarashtra, but Krishna checked it because you not qualify for the blessings.
Krishna.
So we may have a blessing also like that. But Krishna will check, do you merit these blessings? Just like also we are praying every day, we are praying seriously to Krishna. Krishna also looking at all of us. He's hearing every prayer, but he's looking at you. Do you marry what I'm asking you? You meditate, you karma, you what it is, and if I give it to you, will it be a blessing or it be a curse on you? Krishna checked all this.
Okay, Maharaj. Narayani Devi Dasi has a question. Maharaj, please unmute yourself and put on your camera, please, if you can.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. My question is, I want to know why Duryodhana and the brothers, when Yudhishthira went to heaven, he ended up seeing Duryodhana and the brothers over there, and his wife and the brothers were in hell. So I want to know why.
Srivas, that is,
So the question is directed to me or to Maharaj?
you can answer.
Two of you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Actually, it is mentioned that the laws of heaven, mentioned in Mahabharata, that if your sins at the time of death, if your sins are more than your piety, you first of all enjoy your piety. Then you now face your sin. And then if you have a little sin, you're more piety and less sin. First of all, you have to eradicate, you have to wipe off the little suffering before you enjoy your unlimited pious credits. So these are the rules of heaven. When Yudhishthira Maharaj arrived in heaven and he didn't find his brothers, he rather saw Duryodhana and his brothers enjoying there. And when he asked for his brothers, they said they're in a hellish planet. He was surprised. And he said, what is this? And he was told that these are the rules of heaven. That because your brothers committed very little crimes, they're sent to hell to wipe off that suffering. Then they will live in heaven forever, as long as possible. And because Duryodhana, they have committed so much crime with a very little piety, so first of all, they have to enjoy their piety and they'll go to hell for a long, long time. And so we know that even though the Pandavas, because they were exalted devotees, but they said they have weakness, because Yudhishthira Maharaj disobeyed Krishna when Krishna said, tell Duryodhana his son Ashwatthama was dead. He didn't want to speak lie because he's known all his life as a very honest, truthful person. And therefore, he did not want to speak a lie. And so he disobeyed Krishna. And it is said that because of that, his chariot started touching the ground. Before, his chariot was always some few inches above the ground. But when he refused to follow Krishna's instruction, immediately his chariot touched the ground. So he had to go to hell for that. And then he said that Arjuna was boastful of his Gandiva bow. And so because of that, he also had to go to hell. And then I think Bhima, because of his voracious eating, he also had to go to hell. And then Sahadev and Nakul, they also have their own. I think Sahadev was very beautiful. He was proud of his beauty. And Nakul was very intelligent. He was proud of his intelligence. Because of these little things, they had to go to hell very briefly. And then the rest of their life, they would experience heaven, bliss, or the spiritual world. But in the case of Duryodhana, they had very little credit, little credit, and big reactions. So they had to first go to heaven, enjoy their little credit, and the rest of their time, they'll be in hell. So these are the rules of heaven, and therefore, that's why it happened like that.
Also, the Pandavas are eternal associate of Krishna. So their idea of going to heaven is not written in Bhagavatam. This is Mahabharata is talking. So they are eternal associate. Wherever Krishna goes, they will go and meet him there. And they are sinless. All of them are 100% sinless. Even when Bhimsena drank the blood of Dushishan, he did that in the presence of Krishna. But Krishna didn't stop him. That is his vow, and he fulfilled the vow. So they cannot go to hell. Of course, Prabhupada mentioned that Maharaj did that because, like you said, he disobeyed Krishna, so he has to pass through hell. Pass through means that he didn't go to hell, he passed through. Like Janak Maharaj, he also passed through the hell, just by the gate, not going inside the hell. They cannot go there. And devotees have the right to pass through anywhere you want to go. When they are qualified to go back to Godhead, devotee can visit other places. Any place you want to go, you can visit on the way before you go there, if you want. It is your right. It is not a punishment. We are free. We are free from the three modes of material nature. So we have that liberty. You branch anywhere you want to branch. You just see what is happening. When Janak Maharaj passed through, they requested just the breeze from his body enter inside the hair. They begged him to stay for a moment. So he waited because he was compassionate. And Yamara came there, my friend, go, leave them, just go, leave these people, let them pay for their nonsense they have been committed. So he left. So the pass through there is just to teach you a lesson that we should rise above religion and come to a spiritual platform. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. This is a serious business because when the Pandavas, who are eternal associates of Krishna, can also pass through hell to see or whatever, what is the hope for common men who are not eternal associates of Krishna?
Then we should be more careful. That's all.
Okay. We have a question from George Amega. George Amega, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Actually, my network is not helping me. I keep on changing my phone, but I managed to be here. So, I would like to know, is it the word of Kurukshetra is well the will of the Lord Himself? So I wanted to know, in our present day wars, are they the will of the Lord since we are demonic, or is something else? That's what I wanted to know.
Well, Krishna was personally present when the war was fought, and Krishna personally convinced Arjuna to fight. Krishna was even on the battlefield driving Arjuna's chariot, and was at the background making sure that the Pandavas won the war. So we can say that that war was orchestrated by Krishna, and because he had a certain objective to achieve. He wanted to make sure that the devotees, the Pandavas, became the kings of the world. That was his agenda. And that the Duryodhana and his company were annihilated. Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya chaduskritam. Yeah, when Krishna comes into the world, he protects the devotees and he heals the demons. So that was his program. So that war was personally arranged by the Lord. But our present day wars arranged by Krishna. They are just simply due to the laws of karma. And in fact, many wars are just due to greed of our heads of states. It's due to the egos of these heads of states. It's not even religious war. They are not fighting for anything religion. They are fighting for something mundane. So we cannot say that these wars are religious wars. They are directed by Krishna. No. there was for sanctification, was to prove my superiority, was to acquire or to snatch someone else's land or property or whatever. So these wars cannot be described as arranged by Krishna. There are wars that are arranged by greediness, competition, and of course, people also have their karmas they have to pay for, and they have to all be involved in this whole activity.
Okay. So, Max, I don't know if they can permit me to ask my second question.
Yes, do.
Oh, okay. Thank you once again. But I would like to know, it is said that in this age of Kali, actually, there is nothing good. The only good thing is the devotees chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, but then I was still wanted to know, is those boons that are attained in the Satya Yuga, those boons, is it still attainable in this age of Kali? Hare Krishna.
Why not? Whatever boons were given in different ages, if the person given the boon is qualified, he has a Shakti, and he can give those boons also. We have seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's Kali Yuga, 500 years ago. Lord Chaitanya gave a lot of boons. It is described how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one day he was sitting on the Simhasana of Srivas' house, and he was for the devotees, and he was giving them boons. Whatever you wanted, he was giving them boons. But Sridhar Kolovecha, he did not want any boon. He said, I'm satisfied in my heart. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever boon you want, just ask me, I will give you. But Sridhar Kolovecha, being a pure devotee in his Kinchana Bhakta, he said he doesn't want anything. He's already satisfied when his loving relationship with Krishna. So he did not ask for any boons. So if the person giving the boons is qualified, the boons will work. Why not? It should work.
Thank you, Maharaj. We have one last question from Sahadev.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much for answering all our questions. I recall something very interesting. The first time I ever saw you, Prabhu, and that was the first time I saw you, and I also heard you give class. And the class was Bhagavad Gita 641, the unsuccessful yogi.
Okay.
Yes. And in that same chapter, Krishna describes the best time for a yogi to leave his body. And especially in today's world, there is this disease called like dementia, Alzheimer's disease, where if one is suffering from this disease, if it's very advanced, one cannot even recognize his own wife, his own husband, his own children. He can't recognize anything. So that person cannot actually remember anything. He cannot think of Krishna. And Krishna says in, I think, Gita 8.5, Antakale Mam Cha something. So if a devotee cannot remember Krishna at the point that he or she is quitting his body, and if the devotee is leaving his body when the sun is not in the north, but is in the south, what happens to the devotee? We see here in Bhishma Dev's passing. Bhishma Dev, one of the reasons why Bhishma Dev stayed on the, lied on the bed of arrows for a lengthy period of time was because he wanted to depart at the appropriate time.
Yeah.
So My question is, what happens to a devotee when that devotee does not pass at the appropriate time, and the sun maybe is in the south and is unable to think of Krishna and remember Krishna? What happens to this devotee? Because obviously Bhishma Dev is Paramhamsa, he is Mahajan, yet he waited for when the time was right before he left his body.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for this wonderful question. Actually, even though Bhishma Dev waited for the appropriate time to leave, but from all indications, the appropriate time was when Krishna was standing right in front of him. Yes, now the appropriate time, the appropriate moment, the most auspicious moment was when Krishna stood before Bhishma Dev in his Parata Sarata form, because that is the eternal worshipable deity of Bhishma Dev. So Krishna appeared in that form before him. So we can say the most appropriate time was when Krishna appeared before him in that form. Now, for a devotee who has been practicing Krishna consciousness, but at the last moment, he goes through this dementia that he cannot even remember his name, he can't remember Krishna's name, he can't remember anything. So Prabhupada explained in the 6th canto that our duty is to remember Krishna at the time of death. He was citing the example of Ajamil. That Ajamil, even though he was not calling Krishna's name, he was just simply calling his son's name, which happens to be Krishna's name, Narayan, but he got a benefit for calling Krishna's name. So Prabhupada explained somewhere that if a devotee can remember Krishna's name, that is great. Or he even said that we are given our spiritual names. Prabhupada said, even if you remember your own name at the time of death, that is also great, because that name is connected to Krishna. Like Arjuna Das, Sahadev Das, Srivas Das, these are all connected to devotees of Krishna. So instead, if you just remember that name, you remember your own name at the time of death, you will benefit. Krishna would favor you. But then he said that, but even if the death is such that a devotee cannot even remember Krishna's name or remember his own name, Krishna knows the eternal situation of such a devotee. And therefore, Krishna would manifest in the mind of the devotee. It is said that there are the external senses, there are internal senses, and there are external senses. When a devotee is about to leave the body, we can observe the external senses. The eyes are closed, he's breathing in a particular way, the mouth is open, all this, and these are external senses. But the internal senses, we can't see what is going on with the internal senses. So it is said that when a devotee is about to leave his body, if the devotee cannot remember Krishna due to the circumstances, Krishna will appear from within his mind, Krishna will appear from within his internal senses and bless him with the results of his bhakti. So Krishna is very affectionate to his devotee. Krishna is very conscious of his devotees. Therefore, he will do anything possible to actually give a devotee a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. So all that we need to do is just to continue with our devotional service, chanting, reading, hearing. Krishna is taking note of all that. And if by chance, at the time of death, somehow we cannot remember Krishna, Krishna will remember us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for opening this controversial chapter. We are going to, I hope everybody who's coming to speak on this chapter should get prepared for some missiles. Yes, sir. So we ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves. The chant Hare Krishna to Prabhu for comment, please.
Thank you.
Jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. His Holiness Srivas Vanacari Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,